Ladies and gents, welcome to a very special episode of Nass the Pod, Season 3, like we always say. Like I said, a very special episode. Um, it's not breaking news anymore. The Boston Celtics are your 2024 NBA World Champion basketball club, team, organization, the best in the world. Jaylen Brown is the finals MVP. Jason Tatum is now locked in. He's an all-time great, delivered a championship to an organization that hadn't seen one since 2008, 16 years ago today. There's only so much I could say. Yeah, this is just this is a very special night for anyone that has ever called themselves a Boston Celtics fan, or maybe New England sports fans. Obviously, everyone knows that New England is really basically a championship region. The sports community, the fans, we just tend to just rally around each other no matter who is the successful team, whether it's the Red Sox, Patriots, Celtics, whatever. Me specifically, I'm more so a Patriots and Celtics fan, but I just wanted to tip my hat off to anyone that's in New England that was rooting for the Celtics or that has been a part of this, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum chapter, era, even, if you're rooting for the Celtics beforehand. I mean, these days you can kind of tell, when someone, started becoming a fan of a team or a player. But yeah, like I said, I'm just shout out to all the Celtics fans. The real loyal ones. I'll be honest, I'm not the most loyal Celtics fans. I'm a huge NBA fan. The Celtics are my favorite team. I grew up watching them, so they are my team. But there's been times where I've leaned on other teams, other favorite players and stuff like that. But I definitely have been locked in the Tatum Brown era, off rip. I mean, truth be told, even after the Celtics brought it home in '08, like those Rondo-led teams, after we made the move to move off of Pierce and Garnett, and as they were entering like the closing chapters of their Hall of Fame careers, and then kind of seeing it was funny because like the Celtics won in '08, and then we had a couple of those years while Rondo was like peaking individually. He was actually entering the prime of his career, but as a team, like the timelines just didn't add up. Like it was kind of we were kind of in rebuild mode, especially with those Brooklyn picks from the Garnett Pierce swap. But we got this guy in Rondo, and then Rondo tears his ACL, and then we move off him, and then he bounces around Sacramento, Dallas, whatever. And then we were. It's funny because it never really felt like a rebuild because the Celtics were still really, really competitive. And this is before we even drafted Jaylen Brown. We drafted Jaylen Brown, what? I want to say we drafted Jaylen Brown in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. No, 2016. I think we drafted Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown got drafted 2016. And then that following year, led by Isaiah Thomas, the year he was top 5 in MVP voting, first team All NBA. They had that crazy series against the Washington Wizards, against John Wall and Bradley Beal back in 17. I think that series went 7, and then after that we drew, I believe, was it the Cavs? This is 17, right? Because they definitely made the finals. Yeah. So the next round we draw the Cavs. I think we took them 6 or 7. I do remember being down like 3-0, and I think I want to say Avery Bradley hit a buzzer beater 3, or like a game-winning 3, a game-winning jump shot. And just looking back on it, like, man, like the Celtics chapters, that's 17, and then you go to 18, that's the year, the first Kyrie year. We're off the charts. I think we were the 1 seed, and then Kyrie had a procedure that he got done, I think, a couple years prior, and they had put some screws in his knee. I don't know what was going on with that. I guess maybe they, misjudged it or whatever, but the screw was infected. He ended up having to get that taken out. They found the infection in the spring, like right before the playoffs. I think he missed the remaining amount of games in that regular season, then proceeded to miss the playoffs. And, this is Tatum's rookie year. Tatum and Jaylen Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier, they lead that team to the Eastern Conference Finals, coming close to defeating LeBron James. That was seven. That was what? That was 18. I want to say. 19 comes around. We have a great year. We get Gordon Hayward back. Terry Rozier, ascends as a player. We still got Marcus Smart, Marcus Morris, obviously Tatum, Jaylen, obviously growing and maturing as players. We still got Kyrie having an amazing regular season. Then we get to the playoffs, and I believe we beat the Pacers in the first round. I believe in like 5 or 6, I think 5. And then we had the Milwaukee Bucks, the series that basically kind of started the whole Kyrie wildfire because we got embarrassed by the Bucks in 5 games. He wanted to guard Giannis, not really sure why. Brad Stevens seems like he didn't establish a particular hierarchy because a lot of these guys were basically trying to outproduce each other rather than playing together as a unit. And if you just pause real quick and think about how that 2018 team was and compared to this team that just won a ring, you think about the talent. The talent is not that, far off. Obviously, that 2018, 2019 stretch, we had a lot of guys or, their strengths were mainly like shot creation, playmaking, being like a live dribbler, a guy that's going to search for their own. That's their main strength. I mean, that's Kyrie's strength, Jaylen's strength. Jaylen's a 2 guard. Jason Tatum, one of the best, NBA scoring prospects, if you want to think of in recent memory, especially at the wing position. You've got Terry Rozier, his strength, scoring. Marcus Morris, his strength, scoring. Marcus Smart, I wouldn't say his strength is scoring, but that's a guy that still takes shots at the end of the day. And then obviously you have touches for Al Horford. You've got Gordon Hayward, who is still trying to reinvent himself. And honestly, from a confidence standpoint, at that point in time, he probably still thought he was a top 20 player in the league. I mean, this guy was probably at that time, he was probably a couple years off of an All-Star game. So his confidence was still there. And then, Brad Stevens trying to integrate him, after that, gruesome injury in Cleveland the year prior on opening night. Like, there's just been so much stuff going on. And I know I kind of skipped past those post-2018, specifically 09, 10, 11, 12. Everyone, for the most part, expected, that big 3, their window to close pretty fast. I mean, those guys were really older in age. The KG knee injury in 2009, that's kind of when you kind of began to saw the curtains close. Because me personally, as a kid, and I think I was, 09? Was like 13 at the time, maybe. I don't remember looking at that team and being like, damn, the championship window was closing. But I definitely do remember that when he got hurt, I didn't have much confidence in us going the length of the East and then winning the finals again without KG, just because of what he meant to our team and everything on both sides of the floor. But like I said, I don't want to get too lost in the 08 stuff. But yeah, when you think about all the Celtics teams since then, it's remarkable. And I'm going to start with Brad Stevens. I got to tip my hat off to him. You've done an amazing job. I was heavily critical of Brad Stevens for the failure of 2018, 2019. And basically, I mean, he's just as responsible as anyone else during that time for why that team didn't, exceed expectations or maximize their opportunities. So I wanted to give a huge shout out to Brad Stevens because, acquiring Derek White and flipping Josh Richardson, I think a second rounder or something, to San Antonio for Derek White. That is revisionist history. That is one of the biggest trades in recent memory over the past decade, because you got to think about that's a vital core guy. You got to think about what did the war, and I didn't look this up, but I'm not sure if Iguodala was traded to the Warriors or he signed there. But you got to think about potential vital core role guys. Derek White single-handedly swung an NBA championship. I mean, you could arguably say that if we don't have Derek White, we're not going to win a ring this year. I think that's a very fair take, especially with the season he had this year. And I know he was on the team in 22, but, like I said, that this is his second finals. He's been with the team for, I think, 3-4 years? I want to say 4 years. taking a random guess, honestly. But you got to think about that acquisition back in, I think we made that in 2020. That transaction is huge when looking back on Celtics history, acquiring Derek White for the price that we got him at. And then you talk about getting lucky enough to bamboozle. I don't even think we bamboozled anyone, but for the Milwaukee Bucks to move off of Drew Holiday as fast as they did, and I knew it was a home run because they let one bad series from Drew Holiday against Jimmy Butler basically, reach blow up mode like that. It just didn't make any sense. I didn't panic about Drew Holiday at all. I knew he was going to fit seamlessly with this team. I knew he was going to be a great two-way vital role player. And this role for him was going to be the best because we already had, elite shot creators on the team. And that was something that Milwaukee, needed from him at times was to play make for others, score. They kind of need him to score in bunches. You know what I'm saying? And Drew Holiday's an older guy. I'm not saying he can't score. He's got a good back to the basket game. He takes advantage of smaller guys. He can shoot the three ball. He can get to the rim. He's a bigger guy, and he takes care of the basketball too. He's not very turnover prone. He knows his strengths. He knows his spots on the court. So him being older, and then at times, and Chris Middleton was dinged up too. At times, Milwaukee to lean on Drew Holiday to shot create in 2023, 2024 with all these guards, it's just tough. You know what I mean? Especially in a championship setting, and he's already an older guy. This guy was drafted, I believe, in 2009, 10, one of the two. I forget. I think he was actually no. Durant was drafted in 09. Guy's got a decent amount of miles on his legs. So honestly, those two transactions, acquiring Derek White, acquiring Drew Holiday, I have to tip my hat off to Brad Stevens, the executive he was. Even the Xavier Tillman, acquisition, bring him along. He was so big for us in Game 3. He was huge. And that, if for those of you that have been paying attention, I have always said that outside of Porzingis and Horford, our front line is fairly thin. But getting Tillman, when they acquired Tillman, I was like, okay, we're set. We're set in the front line. I won't have to worry about rebounding, rim protection, boxing out, all that fun stuff that are vital components to, winning games, especially at this stage of the season. So I'm beyond ecstatic for Brad Stevens, the entire Celtics organization. Shout out Danny Ainge just for kind of laying out the blueprint for this. You don't see this. You don't see stuff like this a lot. Those were two vital transactions that single-handedly together swung a title. And safe to say, if we don't get Derek White, who knows if we even have an opportunity to reach the 2022 NBA Finals. So I just want to tip my hat off to Brad Stevens. I should get to the game. I should have started off with that, but I'll get to the game. Celtics win in 5. Initially, I said Celtics in 7. I think I don't want to say overreacted, but I think I might have underestimated the defense of the Boston Celtics and how their matchups and how they fit together, primarily on the defensive end of the court, how cohesive and unified they are. Them being able to work together and force guys like Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, Josh Green, forcing those guys to beat them instead of Luka and Kyrie. Luka and Kyrie, they didn't double them. They didn't trap them at all. They just played man up, head on strong, great one-on-one defense. And I've said from the beginning, the Celtics have one of the best perimeter guard wing defensive rotations in the league. You have Drew Holiday and Derek White, who are literally at the peak of their powers defensively as guards. Drew Holiday is one of the best guards of all time. I think we can stand on that. There was who was it? I think it was Evan Turner. No, it was Andre Iguodala. They have a pod together, but Andre Iguodala stated that Drew Holiday is now in Scottie Pippen territory. Drew Holiday single-handedly swung a series in 2021 when he decided to check Chris Paul 94 feet, especially the latter of the series. And Chris Paul was still very good in that series, but just those tiny nuances to just make Chris exert that much energy in a finals, especially at that age. Chris Paul's not this young guy. He has a lot of miles on himself too, so it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Like I'm kind of all over the place. I'm not gonna lie to you, but yeah, this is just it's nuts. It's just nuts. I really I didn't picture this. I pictured it, but there's been so many disappointments and just bumps along in the process that it makes you realize like how bittersweet it is to actually win and have your team on top. And it just shows you that those lessons, those bumps, those hurdles that you had to overcome, that they're very important in a process like this. And without them, the process is just not the same. So yeah, I wanted to shout out Brad Stevens real quick. Executive of the year. I think he's easily the best GM in the league as of right now, 100%. This core together they're locked in. I think Derek White is the only guy that C's had to figure out financially what to do. But outside of that, like yeah, this is great. This is really great. And the contrast between this team and the 2008 team is this team, from an age standpoint, the timeline fits. Jaylen Brown, 27 years old. Jason Tatum, 26 years old. I believe Derek White, I think, is 29, I believe. Jrue Holiday's a little old. I think he's like 33. Porzingis is 29, 30. Obviously, Horford's on the ladder. And shout out to my man, Horford. Glad we finally got you a ring because time was ticking. Time was ticking. I've been having your back. I've been trying to tell people we cannot have Horford guarding Embiid for any more 7-game series. So just like Jrue Holiday, just like Andre Iguodala, one of those very, very just understated, vital, all-time core rotation guys in Al Horford. Just a guy you just want to have on your team. He doesn't get enough, credit for adapting his play style to this generation and being able to be a viable, big man option in 2024. This is a guy that in 2008 faced off against KG, Kendrick, Perkins, Paul Pierce, like that front court. He faced them in a 7-game series as a member of the Atlanta Hawks in the first round. And in 2024, he just won a ring on the Boston Celtics as a power forward, stretching the floor, playmaking, playing defense, rebounding, protecting the rim. This guy had to back up Kristaps Porzingis. He's like 4 or 5 years older than him with a lot more miles on. So yeah, shout out to Al Horford real quick. Jason Tatum, 31 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists. He had 9 assists in the first half. Jaylen Brown, 21 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He was primarily guarding Luka most of the game. Just an outstanding two-way performance from, both these players. Jrue Holiday and Derek White were also doing their thing. Kristaps Porzingis had an incredible, was it game 1? I think it was game 1. An incredible game 1. The injury bug got to him again, but, I'm just glad that he was able to get out there tonight and, be out there and just at least like be a threat for us. So that was huge. The big thing about Tatum and Brown, and I've said this for those of you that have been following Nass the Pod to this point, Jason Tatum attempted 7 threes tonight. He attempted 8 free throws. He only hit 1 3, but he hit all of his free throws. He attempted more free throws than 3-point field goals. And I think that is a huge maturation step, because this is a guy that at times has fallen in love with his jump shot, has, at times been criticized, and I've been one to do the critiquing, getting to the line, not being as aggressive, forgetting at times that he's 6'10", 6'11". I've been one to say that. I've been one to say that, maybe this guy should post up more, not be on the perimeter dancing as much. And I think right now, and even though I was critiquing him, I was patient with him because I understood, this is a 26-year-old who is entering his prime right now. So, love to see that. 9 assists in the first half, 0 turnovers. Love to see that. That is championship-winning basketball. I could give a damn if he shot 4 for 40. 9 assists, 0 turnovers, getting everyone easy looks. And the reason why I feel like his finals MVP was kind of understated is because, Tatum, the actions we run, the attention he gets, the, defenders he draws, on a night-to-night basis, he's one of a handful amount of guys that gets that, that type of attention. And you got to think about what would the looks be like for other guys if Tatum wasn't on the court. We already know about the plus-minus. The plus-minus when Tatum is not on the court, it's been disgusting all playoffs. when he's not on the court, the Celtics, they're just not a good team. They're just not. The numbers tell you that. They're just not. They're just a completely different team. And he is the biggest X factor, to how they run things on both sides of the court. Because you can, at times he's got Derek Lively on him. And then other times he's got Josh Green on him. He's one of those just multifaceted, versatile players. And I think because his persona is not rah, rah, rah. He's not going to get in your face. He's not going to talk trash, at least like firsthand, or he's not going to initiate it. I feel like we let that kind of cloud our actual opinion of Jason Tatum and blind us of who he actually is as a player. He is a two-way, all-around productive player. I think he's like one of like 5 players to lead a team in 5 outright categories on his way to the finals. That's points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. On his way to the finals. But because he wasn't really hitting his shots, we got to be like, what kind of superstar is he? With a ring now, that's to the side. We can no longer, I don't want to hear anything about, is Anthony Edwards better than Jason Tatum? I don't want to hear anything about, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander better than Jason Tatum? This is a guy that is well established in this league. He had way too impressive of a playoff resume. And it's not even really about ability. It's really about reps in the playoffs, what you've done in the playoffs, because that's really how we rank these players, is we always look at the postseason. What have you done for me? Everyone has always said, we don't care about the regular season. All right. What have you done for me in the postseason? Well, Jason Tatum, the next time you ask a question, what has Jason Tatum done for you in the postseason? You got to start off with one thing. 2024 NBA champ. What is it? 6 Eastern Conference Finals appearances, an Eastern Conference Finals MVP. This is his 4th straight year making first team All-NBA. There's really nothing you can say about the man anymore. If you don't like his shot selection, cool. But the first thing you got to start off with is champ. That's the first thing you got to tell him. So, shout out to Tatum. Watching you grow and ascend as a player it's been an honor. It's been an honor for me. It's been an honor for my brother. It's been an honor for my friends, my dad. Like, my dad sent me a voice message, and he was genuinely so happy for you guys. And that's why, sports is beautiful, because, you really do be impacting lives. You know what I mean? People be having really, really shitty days. And sometimes people just want to get home and watch you play basketball. And I think Brown and Tatum, they obviously understand that. They understand what the Celtics community means to them. It's just an honor. It's beautiful. 16 years, man. 16 years. It's crazy. It's really crazy. So shout out to my man Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown, 21 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Like I said about Jason Tatum and the maturation and his approach to the game. Jaylen Brown, 5 for 6 from the free throw line. 2 for 9 from 3. I don't hate it. I mean, they were doing some shot chucking later on. I don't particularly hate it. Spent a lot of time defending Luka at a very, very high level, and I have to tip my hat to him. Just one of the all-time two-way, NBA Finals performances, and I think that's really what made him, most deserving for the Finals MVP. Was this guy's being an efficient scorer, getting to the bucket at will. Jaylen Brown actually, he's ascended as a playmaker. He's actually shown us, and this is a guy that has taken some criticism for, having a like assist to turnover ratio, at times not really getting everyone involved. There was a floor raising component that we wanted to see him reach. And, there was times where we didn't know if he could grow into that. Sometimes where he did show flashes of it. So yeah, I'm ecstatic. He had 6 assists tonight. It's crazy because Game 4, I'm pretty sure Tatum and Brown combined for, I think, 6 assists. And Game 3, the game prior, they combined for 17. Tonight, they combined for 17 assists again. So there's the floor raising that I'm talking about. And shout out to my man Toby. We did talk about Tatum and Brown during our All-NBA episode, and his thing with them was like they can do more. He's thinking like it's not just the scoring. They can do more. They can defend. Jaylen Brown just spent an entirety of a series guarding Luka Doncic. It wasn't just Drew Holiday. It wasn't Derek White, and I haven't looked up the minutes logged, but I'm pretty sure that Jaylen Brown spent the most time of any Celtics defender guarding, Luka Doncic. And this is not just guarding from half court. He's checking him up 94 feet. He's making it hard for him. He's making him work off ball. So just an incredible two-way performance. I can't say enough. I really can't say enough. Jrue Holiday, I definitely thought was going to get Finals MVP without a doubt. I think he had 19 points, 12 boards, 5 dimes. I thought he was a lock because coming into this game, I'm pretty sure he was a top 2 odds guy for Finals MVP. The odds kept going up and down. I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the second half, Tatum was the opening odds best bet to get Finals MVP. But I just want to tip my hat off to Jrue Holiday. That was insane. What he just did for us was insane. A lot Jaylen Brown just being an efficient guy, stretching the floor, taking on these Mavs, pulling offensive players, and Luka and Kyrie. Shout out to those two as well. Respect. Great battle. I wrote about you guys back, I think, in February, just because, after the trade deadline, I knew you guys were destined to do something in the playoffs if, if Kyrie was healthy, and Kyrie came back from his thumb strain. Luka was still dominating. The defense kind of took off. The two bigs. That was a dimension that not a lot of teams were ready for. OKC, LA Clippers, they were not ready for that dimension. And then they battled a team that beat the defending champs and took them out in 5 games in the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, yeah, the Dallas Mavericks, I had a feeling they were going to be really good. I wasn't very sure they were going to be NBA Finals good. Not this quick. But tip my hat off to them. And yeah, man, really 18, bro. 18. It's crazy. It's crazy. And y'all were talking so much trash too. How many narratives did we kill? Let's think about it. So the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum playing together, that narrative is done. The Joe Mazzulla narrative is killed. Porzingis as a winning, impactful player, that narrative is killed. The Jaylen Brown dribbling with his left, that's killed. What other narratives are there that were kind of dead in 2024 regular season? I think that might be all of them. Shout out Joe Mazzulla too. I think that's how I'm gonna close this out. Shout out Joe Mazzulla. I've been, very critical of you too. Your timing of timeouts, your post-game pressers. Sometimes I feel like you weren't mad enough, at the media, after certain games, and that would just tick me off more. But there's only so much us outsiders. I'm honest enough to say on camera, I'm an outsider because I'm not in the locker room. I'm not at practice. I don't know what personnel you're going with in particular games or stretches. I don't know how you're, planning to alter your drop coverage or how you plan on trapping Luka and Kyrie or just all these different nuances and stuff that goes on behind closed doors that us media members don't have any access to. But I will say that there were at times this season where, I'd watch a post-game presser maybe after we blew a fourth quarter lead or this and that, and I would be ticked off because you weren't mad enough. And the whole time I should have just seen the bigger picture. There was a big calmness about Joe Mazzulla. It was urgent, but there was ultimate calmness. You know what I mean? He would he'd be very blunt, first off. He'd lay out, he's unapologetic, especially about his opinion. And as the head coach of the Boston Celtics, you need a guy like that. You need a guy like that doesn't care what anyone thinks. You know what I mean? And isn't afraid to put his foot forward and, just be there for his guys. I genuinely think this isn't some head coach that, likes the cameras or he's a me guy. Honestly, the way I feel about Joe Mazzulla, he feels like he's my next door neighbor, a 35-year-old dad, father of 2, and is coaching, his 8th grade travel team, 8th grade travel A team. That's how I feel about Joe Mazzulla. He genuinely cares about his players. And as cliche as that sounds, and I'm sure all these coaches care about their players, but there's something with Joe. And I felt that when I saw the way Tatum hugged him when he checked out of Game 5, and it was just beautiful to see. It touched me because the Celtics, they've been through so many ups and downs, and there's just so many things that were out of their control, especially Tatum and Brown. there was just so many things that were out of their control. Like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum had no control over Kyrie having a change of heart and deciding to sign in Brooklyn. They had no control over that. They had no control about the Ime Udoka situation. No control. Nothing to do with it. You think about, big vital moments throughout the process and how things could have swung, either way. If Kyrie resigns in Boston, do we get this ring? Do we reach the 2022 finals? Is Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum, are we affording all three of them in 2024 currently? Are we able to add a defender or viable role guy like Drew Holiday or Derek White if Kyrie still stays? If Ime Udoka comes back, is it a lock that we even go back to the finals just because we made it once? It's not. It's really not. All these vital chapters throughout, the Tatum Brown era that could have gone either way. And those were just a couple examples I thought of. Oh, the Will Hardy one. If Will Hardy decides not to go to Utah, decides to stay in Boston, are we still the same team from a schematic point of view? Are we? Are we running the same stuff? Or is Will Hardy enhancing our strengths to the best of his ability? Through his schemes and his philosophies? I don't know. So I just want to take that moment and really tip my hat off to Joe Mazzulla because it's been beautiful to see, and now he's a champion. He's already an all-time Celtics coach, like immediately. This is his only second ring as his head coach. He's got, I don't know what his winning record is, but if you want to take the amount of games he's coached, and I don't have that number off the top of my head, but if you want to take that number of the number of games he's coached and, stack it up against other all-time head coaches, he's got to be up there for wins. Obviously, with the regular season ending, I can now get back into, my writing bag a little bit more. So still be on the lookout. NGSC Sports, the gang still. I don't know when the parade is, man. One of y'all find Ace. Ace, we need the championship parade vlog. Hit me, bro. I already texted you, but I already know you're in the city getting right. But I got work tomorrow, so I couldn't afford to be in the city. But y'all be safe out there. Celtics 18th banner is finally here. Big Deuce, Jaylen Brown, Finals MVP. They did it, and I'm still shocked. But I appreciate y'all for tapping in all year, man. Appreciate anyone that's been in my ear, that's really been on this ride, because obviously, as you can tell, this is the last, basically, in-season Nass the Pod episode. But don't worry, nothing's ending. There's still plenty of stuff coming. We got NBA draft stuff. Off-season's now starting to get underway. Outlook to next year. We got Team USA, Olympic basketball. So there's a lot of fun stuff going down. I still have a lot of more guests coming on. So yeah, it's been an honor. The Boston Celtics are your NBA World Champions. Y'all be easy, man.